Hey, Keith.
Hey Gina, hey Matt, hi Andy.
Hello.
Hi guys, I'm working on my buttons here.
Yeah, welcome, Andy.
There we go. Hi folks.
Matt, I want to be in the backyard.
Yeah, looks pretty good.
Mhm.
I didn't even think about that.
Those look
Yeah,
like
take
vegetables.
yeah, tomatillos.
Oh no.
Yep. We learned. Is this our third year growing those? I think the very first year we were at the nursery and we thought, oh, tomatillos, that's cute, something different. And then we learned that you need more than one plant to really have them generate tomatillos. So, but our second year was very productive, and there's quite a bit on there right now. So
We
much salsa coming up.
So is that a
I
green
was gonna say, if you have any extras, let me know.
Oh, for sure. I'm sure we will. So
Is that it ends up green and you make a green sauce out of that, right?
well, we actually got we did this last year. We got a purple one and a green one. So there's a mix in there.
Nice.
And then depending on how the bees do their business, you end up with some interesting variations. So
That's cool. Hi Miriam.
Hi, Andy. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Sorry, I decided to enjoy this nice breeze outside.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Yeah, we have to take advantage of that while we can here in Oregon.
Thanks.
I think we're waiting on our chair. And Gina, Steph did say she was attending
Yes.
tonight. Oh, okay. All right. Oh, there she is.
Sorry for the delay. The computer decided to take exceptionally longer. Let's load Zoom. All right, and we have staff here. And it looks like we have quorums. Let's go ahead and call our meeting to order at 7:02. And we want to go ahead and start with our roll call.
Sure. And I should say I received an email from Sonia that she wants to resign from the HRC. She just doesn't feel like she has the adequate time to give to the commission, but she said that she's was grateful for the opportunity and would be willing to participate in some of the projects or that. So she would keep in touch. But, okay, so Sonia's excused then. Let me, my computer isn't my other one that I have the list of names and stuff on. It's updating and it's taking forever, but I'll read from the minutes. So Jamie.
Present.
Okay. Miriam.
Here.
And Robin.
Present.
Keith.
Here.
Greg.
Present.
And Stephanie.
I'm here. All right. So our next item on our agenda is business from the public. And Matt, I believe that Kimya was going to come forward during business from the public, correct?
Yes, I believe Kimya is here.
Awesome. Welcome, Kimya.
Great, thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity. I've wanted to meet this commission for a couple of years now and continue to try to learn more about it. So I appreciate the opportunity. So I live in North Albany. I've been in this community about 7 years and worked over at Oregon State. And I've actually been the chief diversity officer there for athletics for a few years. Worked with, a lot with underrepresented groups, minoritized folks, etc. And just being in this community, obviously, sometimes you see some things that don't strike you the right way, and there's obviously some challenges, things like that. And then just, with the mission on this website, just for the commission and how it was established, specifically around acceptance, inclusion, equal opportunity, accessibility, dignity, fair treatment for all. I guess what I'm trying to just glean a little bit is, what is this commission doing in terms of projects or activities or initiatives and goals, objectives, etc., that would attain that mission, I guess, that's on the site. And as a citizen, I like being involved in my community and ensuring that it's a place that not only you retain the individuals that are here and make them feel comfortable and safe and have belonging, but also it's an opportunity for a lot of people coming into the community where they feel that as well. And I know at the university and here too, there's a lot of turnover right now in the last couple of years, specifically after COVID. But I also think it's a great opportunity for this community to be a place where people feel comfortable, feel accepted. I think a lot of people, even though they live in Corvallis and work at the university, are trying to find affordable housing, right? They're trying to find places they can live, and Albany, thankfully, is probably on a little bit more on the affordable side. So is it also a place where people can feel like they belong and it's safe and accepting, etc.? So I'm just coming here. I had a few questions, but first and foremost, I guess, what is this commission doing in the last couple of years and working towards? I think that would be a good start, as I'm understanding a little bit more about what it does.
So a few years ago, we hosted some, this is pre-COVID, hosted some discussions on intersectionality within the city of Albany that were hosted. So talking about what it's like to be a disabled person in Albany, what it's like to be Black in Albany, what it's like to be a woman in Albany. So we had quite a few of those conversations. We also have, you'll find during our scheduled business, we'll discuss different projects. For example, last year and later on this summer, we've also hosted a booth at the farmers market discussing, the difference between equity and equality, difference and having different subject matters. That is, I apologize. My husband had to work late this evening. So we've had different projects ongoing. We would always like to do more. We are a volunteer commission and we do not have a budget. So we always try to, tag along as much as we can, helping out like other organizations like Festival Latino. We've tabled at Pride the last 2 years. But so what we're trying to do as much as we possibly can, given the constraints. But it sounds like we have an opening. And Gina, I'm wondering who had appointed Sonia and Kimya. If you're interested in joining us, I love your attitude. Just saying.
I'll have to look up that information. Sorry, I didn't.
I can fill in. So Sonia was Councilor Johnson's appointment from Ward 3. So Kinsey in the city manager's office that manages the appointments to citizen advisory groups has actually already reached out to Councilor Johnson to let her know that there's a vacancy. And we actually had 3 applications on file already. Not saying that we can't add another one to that, but so the process has started, but there's been no appointment made yet. So certainly, now that said, I think Kimmy, you said you're in Ward 1, North Albany.
Yeah, I did actually apply for this commission.
Oh, really?
about-
Oh, okay.
About a year and a
Well,
half.
then maybe yours is one of. Oh, okay.
The mayor.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think the mayor as the mayor appointee, and I think he didn't see that I don't know, at that time, I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe, and I didn't check the 3 people that Kinsey forwarded on, so maybe yours was one of those, but anyway, and I know that at least recently, the council's process has been to try and nominate from the ward of the counselor that has the opening, but there's no like exclusion to looking outside their ward if no satisfactory candidate exists. So I would encourage you, I think it'll become a vacancy on the site and there'll be an apply button. So don't let that, preclude you from applying for that position as well, if you're interested.
And I'm curious, do you have students that are living out here as well? Maybe any insight of where you'd like to see us focus on or include in any of our upcoming projects? Or
We don't have as many students that live here. They may be from here but more so we have a lot of staff, specifically staff from underrepresented groups live in Albany and commute in, it's 20 minutes. And I think, I think my initial interest was understanding, there's some dynamics in Oregon, no question. And I think not only facing them, but recognizing them, but I think there's always like low hanging fruit that you can do with commissions and even volunteer commissions that you can maybe, address some things or at least create awareness, find ways to do education, be creative and innovative in terms of how you do that without a budget, right? So I know that's a factor. So I get that. But yeah, not so much students, but there's a lot of staff that actually live in Albany that I think would also be potentially either interested in something like this or how can we find more ways for different cultures and different affinities to be recognized, supported. Again, just people made aware of what some of the challenges are, but also what are the celebrations and recognitions as well.
I absolutely agree. And I'd love to invite you to stop by where we're going to have a booth for education topics the first Saturday in September.
Okay. Great. Are you guys doing anything at the Northwest Art and Air Festival by chance or no?
No, I don't know if we are able to get a booth there. I wonder, I don't think that's something we can talk to Matt about.
I can certainly look into that with park staff and see. Coming up this weekend though, so in terms of
Yeah,
Exactly. A weekend I have
putting
free.
people at the booth.
Well, I have nothing going on, so.
And I'd be happy to stop by in September for the mentioned, where that is and all that for sure.
We'll be at the farmer's market right outside the, it's like right in front of the Lynn County Courthouse. We'll have educational, like a small kind of lesson to educate our community. Would love to also get coffee with you. I'll send you an email offline.
Sure, that sounds good.
Is there anything else that we could answer for you or do for you?
I think you answered some of it. I just also wonder, and again, as a volunteer commission, I know there's certain limitations of what you can do. I've tried to follow obviously the news and watch what happens within the community and specifically with education. And know there's been some controversial scenarios with the superintendent last year and just some things happening within the schools, and some of that was COVID and some of that was probably other things. Does this commission, I guess, are you in a position where you can feel like you can push the envelope a little bit, or at least share both perspectives on sides, because it's a political world we live in. I get that, I'm not taking any sides with one way or another, but does this commission feel like they're in a position that they can share positions on or education on different sides of different arguments, or make people aware of historical context? Like, is that something this commission does or has the ability to do, or is that not something that's within the job description, I guess?
So is that something we've done, like recent current events? We are kind of sidelined for about almost a year, when the council put us on hold. But I think it'd be something that love for us to explore as a commission and see if it's within our bylines. So I think educating, oh, Keith, go ahead.
Yeah, so there are also things that some of us commissioners do kind of on the outside of this role within the community, and making sure that things get reported and are getting reported to the correct departments at the state level. Working with our local police department on reporting some things, and also serving on their diversity advisory team. So we're out here doing the work, and a lot of it is that it can be quiet.
Yeah, and I just want to say, I empathize with every one of you. This is hard work. Sometimes getting people riled up with things that they may not believe in is hard and challenging, and I totally get that. Although important to make sure that truth is being told, and sometimes our opinions are different. That's fine, but we all live in the same community, and how do we continue to work together to progress the community and help others as they come in and hopefully be retained. My last question I had was, I guess, what does this commission see maybe as some of the main challenges in this community in regards to like accessibility, inclusion, and equity? What would this commission say, or maybe the things that you look towards in the future, in the next year or so, just making that up, but as some of the key challenges that you have to face or address?
I would just say we have been talking with city staff about doing some more surveys around those topics. And we're also, I think it was our last meeting, and it's been brought up before, to start looking into the Welcoming America programming for municipalities. So we're just started looking into that. And do you have anything else, anyone?
I was going to think, the commission did look into the situations of hate violence a little bit, so talk to the community about that. We were trying to get something going for one of the parks, I believe, in the last couple of years where there was an incident, or last year. Yeah. But, personally, I think I want to add, that I think we could do a lot more. I think it'd be all volunteer. It is definitely a challenge. No budget is a challenge. But I think there's things we can do, including, as I'll be proposing today, that we make a resolution in support of, or we ask the city council to make a resolution in support of reproductive rights.
And I'll just kind of go off what Robin said, because you kind of hinted at it. It's something that Kimia, that the structure of the citizen advisory groups in their very nature are advisory groups to city council. And so in that vein, like they're sort of limited in how much they can do, in that they make recommendations to city council, but city council doesn't always follow through on that. So it can be frustrating at times, probably for commission members, because they're volunteering their time to focus on specific causes that they believe in. Like, if you talk about the Bicycle Pedestrian Commission, or here the HRC, it's relying on people's specialties and their passions, and then it gets sort of frustrating sometimes to hit a wall of sorts at city council, because they are the elected decision makers. And so just pointing out that they are kind of limited in what they can do. But that shouldn't discourage people from stopping trying to advocate to city council on positions. So
No, I appreciate all your perspectives, and yeah, again, I empathize that this is always hard work, and pushing tough topics and things like that are always challenging. So appreciate that.
Awesome, thanks. I'm gonna connect with you after this meeting as well. I'd love to sync up and chat about some ideas I have.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Awesome, thank you so much for joining us.
All right.
And you're welcome to stay on, because actually our new superintendent for Albany for GAPS is actually here tonight. We'll be speaking in a few minutes. His name's Andy Gardner. You'll see him up in your top right screen if you have this, I guess, if you have the same Zoom format as me, which you probably don't.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'll hang on.
Okay. All right. It looks like we don't have anyone else as business from the public. So let's go ahead and move on with item number 4, which is approval of the July 26th meeting minutes.
I move that we approve the July minutes.
Second that motion.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so our next item on our agenda is welcoming GAP Superintendent Andy Gardner. Welcome, Andy.
Thank you.
I believe it was Keith that invited you to join us this evening. Would just love to hear more about, I guess, invited you to hear more about your background, your vision for GAPS, and also get to know you a little more.
Thank you for the invite. Keith, appreciate you setting me up there. Just began the work July 1 officially, had been hired in early February. And so I've spent my Fridays all spring learning about the district, meeting with a lot of people, met with Miriam, and met with the ASAP committee the other day. I think it led to this invite. Tell you a little bit about myself. I grew up in John Day, Oregon, way out in the middle of Eastern Oregon. And my family had been gold miners and cattle ranchers, and ended up owning a beverage distributorship over there that works throughout Eastern Oregon. Went to college, knew that I wanted to become an educator from a very young age, love American history and world history, read it a lot. And just really found that I enjoyed education, and worked here in Stayton, and I'm still living here. We have yet to find a house, but came to Stayton after college, worked for 7 years as a teacher, 5 years as a vice principal at a high school, 5 years as a K-8 principal when my kids were little, really love little kids as well. Went to 3 years at just a pure middle school and got a dose of that, and then worked for 12 years as the superintendent in Stayton, and just have really enjoyed the work. In terms of really entering, work towards equitable outcomes and inclusion, just from my background, I would say that there was you really had to think that through, had to feel confident to come into the work, and finally, really gave myself permission that anybody can join this work. And I believe it's really important. I've always had a heart that kids would feel good at school, that they will feel safe at school, and that, we really have to have that before we can really grow. And so, that's just an interesting journey, but I've really come to accept that we all have to join in the work and should not feel bashful about our own backgrounds, and happy to be here. So the work we're doing right now, Superintendent Melissa Goff, about 3 years ago, just prior to COVID, pulled together a large community committee, and they spent quite a bit of time building 3 priorities in a strategic plan, along with our mission, vision, and values. Those three outcomes are rigorous instruction, equitable outcomes for all students, and social and emotional health supports. And so we are picking up that work. Superintendent Rob Saxon, who was the interim last year, advanced some of that work. He began to put together objectives around those three different priorities. And now we are carrying that to completion, and we hope by early winter, maybe after winter break, we should be able to roll out a strategic plan that will have some pretty specific outcomes in those different priorities. I will say that my three goals also include, and those of you that have been in Albany for a while will recognize that there have been, I think, 5 superintendents in 8 years. We just have finished 18 months, of which we've had a business manager for only 3 of those 18 months. And so just rebuilding and putting together systems that have been broken through a lack of continuity, as well as COVID, is a huge priority of mine, just so we can know where we are financially, that we can plan and be somewhat agile as we approach what is probably going to be a little lower funding biennium this next 2 years at the state. And those are all big challenges. And so this year is a really busy year. Staff have been awesome. They are working really hard, but we're gonna deliver the strategic plan and go to work on that, and really come together with our internal culture. And last night, the board accepted those 3 strategic priorities. Really proud of them. And that's the work we're going to do. You guys have any questions about that? Do you guys hear that? Something was going on there.
Yes, I had a quick question. I was wondering if there was any data or anyone on staff who's working on collecting why some students are being moved out of our district and into neighboring districts.
Can you say that again, Keith? You froze there for a minute.
Sorry about that. I was wondering if you had any data, or if someone on your staff is collecting data on students who are leaving our district and going to neighboring districts.
So I'd have to look at that. I do not know that there is a significant number. So the last couple of years in COVID, there has been some retreat from public schools, some flight from public schools as students go to homeschool and go perhaps to other districts, certainly to the online academies that seem to be in every district in Eastern Oregon. But in general, Albany, so we have a big pot in the general fund that is sent out to districts on a per student average. And Albany actually increased its income by a couple $1 million because fewer kids left our district than had left other districts, right? So I don't know that I would have to look at whether or not students are leaving to go to a given district, but I know that here in Staten, we, quite a bit more conservative, I think, on a population, percentage, but we had actually, we actually just barely broke even. So we had a greater number of students here who went to homeschool or online academies than Albany did. Albany did relatively well in that restructuring and shuffling of where students were. The state is about, I think there are about 580,000 K-12 students in the state now, or were prior to COVID. Now there's about 560,000 students. So, and that's going to challenge all of K-12 public education to justify funding when we have lost some students. So, those are not huge challenges. And again, relative to other districts, Albany retained a lot of students. But I could, we could email and I could look at where if we have a deficit to one district or another. I'm not sure about that.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I think I'll have to email you. I have a few questions. My daughter is in the GAP system. She's in elementary school over at Tahkeena. just, there's a few things I've noticed, just being a parent there. But also I'm curious just about, educational disparities among different subsets of populations.
Mhm.
So I'll definitely follow up and I'll report and let everyone else know here on the commission.
Absolutely. Happy to get any feedback. You guys are more than welcome to email. I think my email's on the website, but if not, it's just andy.gardner, GARDNER at albany.k12.or.us. And just anything you guys want to send to me, love the feedback. And if you guys raise some questions that helps us learn, even better.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
You bet.
Does anyone else have any other questions they'd like to ask Superintendent Gardner?
Am I allowed to ask a question as a member of the public or no?
I'm fine with it. Is everyone else fine with
Yeah.
that?
It's just got to be bunny slope stuff. No black diamond steep stuff.
Yeah, it's probably like a blue diamond. I'm just curious, just after some of the controversy, I know you're taking over and obviously new set of eyes, new perspective. What is your take or thought process on, I know Stephanie mentioned educational disparities and things of that nature, but what about things like that are controversial, like critical race theory and things that might be controversial to some, but also there's a historical context of the state of Oregon, our country. And I think we probably all agree that a lot of US history has not been taught in our schools districts. And would you see Albany as a place where you might sort of go against the grain a bit and do some things that are differently? And would you support that as a superintendent?
So probably early on here, as we're looking for stability, right? We would not just like immediately go into like, hey, we're going to adopt a curriculum that may be explicitly, working towards the 1619 project or something like that, right? But I do believe that even the history books that we've adopted in the North Santiam School District are far more diverse in terms of perspectives of history than they used to be, and the standards themselves are far more diverse than that. The challenge there, I think, is there is so much that we can accomplish if we begin, like, the question that Stephanie asked here just a minute ago. Is that right, Stephanie? I can't see. Yeah, Stephanie asked just a minute ago. We are going within this strategic plan to develop measures that we're going to check on every year and see that we make progress on those, like a more representative workforce, better outcomes in our subgroups within our total population. And we are, there is plenty of work that we can do. One of the lessons, I think, in Superintendent Goff, I'm not that interested in going right to the bleeding edge of this right away, because that board was elected when the police were removed from our schools. I think that was one of the big issues. And so I would just ask that you guys consider Mr. Lincoln, who had sent the governor of Missouri the advice, if neither or both shall abuse you, you shall probably be about right. I know that I will receive abuse on both sides as I do this work, but our work, I believe, can be furthered in many ways through just building a culture of acceptance in our schools and teaching well. We brought in a trainer about a week and a half ago to our leadership retreat. His name's Jamie Almanzon. He runs the Equity Collaborative. Took a lot of heat last fall from his work in Loudoun County, Virginia, and he's a really wonderful person. And he said this, he said, give me the school that teaches kids really well in a safe and accepting environment. And so that, I believe, is something that we can accomplish here. And I know that's not like all the way that you guys always, would want to hear, but it's my intention to move the district in these directions. but it is also not to, and I know that there's going to be people from the right who will not always care for the things that we do, but I recognize that the work is important and that we will carry that forward.
I actually, your comments kind of put a question in my head.
Yes.
You mentioned that you're working on creating a culture, internally,
Mhm.
of acceptance. And I'm curious to hear, I know that there've been quite a few rather public resignations that came from like kind of the fallout from the previous superintendent leaving. But in addition, something that I've learned as just as a parent is how many teachers have resigned. And I'm curious to hear, what we're doing to attract and retain talent that is as diverse as our student population.
So Mr. Saxton this spring put a recruiter into the budget specifically designed to recruit and retain employees of underserved communities. And I'm really excited about that. Javier Cervantes recently obtained a grant for 2 ombudspersons that will work in our high schools, and that those will be specifically minority representatives who kids can feel like they can approach. And I think that's just a wonderful step forward. My sense in some of the conflicts and the resignations, obviously, just talking and listening with people this year, the sheer PTSD and trauma from that period of time is immense, right? There are people who I will visit with, or that something will happen and they are really triggered and emotional at times, that something will bring them back to the month of July last year or the month of August. And so there's some healing to be done. But one of the things that has happened here, I don't know if you guys read much history, but the 2nd century of the Roman Empire, 2nd century AD, there were about 5 emperors. One of them was Marcus Aurelius, who wrote Meditations, very stable. That's about the last time that big works were done in Rome. The 3rd century was, I think, 70 emperors in 100 years, and nothing got done because they were constantly turning over. Much of the conflict in this district is because we look like 3rd century Rome. So many people have turned over and systems have really stopped happening, right? So the lack of systems leads to a great deal of misunderstanding and conflict. And so we really have a job here to begin to use the strategic plan and these priorities and develop an aligned process system that can take away some of the misunderstandings. I think that, virtually every misunderstanding, a great example, I think, is just getting a real clear understanding of what our terms around equitable outcomes are. There's a lot of meanings that are interpreted very differently by people. And so Javier has put together a list of terminology, and we're going to spend some time this year working. Different groups are going to come together. One of the things we're going to be working on is just really gaining clarity about what that work is, so that there is not just friction. And I don't see a great deal of ideological friction within the district. I think it is more misunderstandings about what terms mean, so that we can get clarity and a real common approach on that. I hope that makes sense. But what I'm saying is there's a lot of conflict because we don't know what we're doing. So.
To piggyback on that, because that was actually a question I had, Stephanie. I know that the state put out some funds for districts to for retention and recruitment. How is Albany spending that money?
So, among other things, for example, we're about 60% staffed on bus drivers right now. So Mr. Saxton put together a plan for that. But among those funds is the recruiter for minorities, right? To just really with intentionality do that. But we are really looking to Of course, our unions have asked that we give it to them, but we're not going to do that. We're going to try to really stay with finding people in really hard to fill positions. We have several positions that are routinely hard to fill: special education, counselors, speech language therapists. So we are working to really focus efforts on those as well. We are, I think Roger Nyquist had mentioned that Albany faces 85% employment, meaning that we have a ton of jobs. And so, we're like everybody else, we're looking for workers.
I think to add a little bit to that too, Andy, and from what I have heard from other districts, as in my other capacity as a school board member, is that it's not just Albany having to struggle with finding teachers. It's all throughout Oregon and all throughout the nation because of teacher burnout. So some school districts have actually paid to look outside of Oregon and recruit people in, especially teachers of color who can represent and help our students. So it's not just an Albany issue, it's a whole nation issue that we are seeing and experiencing. And our smaller component districts actually have it worse. And that is why right now there's still that emergency substitute where you can apply to be a substitute teacher to help with that gap that we currently have. So there are many things happening in Oregon that it's not just our district.
Yeah. We see challenges. Some districts have even begun to build apartment complexes or small housing unit complexes, because that is now a real barrier to getting people to not just be hired, but they have to find a place to live. There are just some real distortions in our economy coming out of COVID. I'm gonna have to get going here in just a minute, but I'll take one more question and then I'll need to go.
Does anyone else have anything they'd like to ask?
Hey, if you guys have any questions or follow up, happy to respond by email. Just send them out to me. And Stephanie, you're welcome to do that.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for the invite, Keith.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us.
You bet. Bye-bye, guys.
All right. So the next item on our agenda is the HRC project updates. I briefly touched on the Farmers Market Initiative. Keith and I will be hosting a farmers market booth first Saturday in September, and I think we're going to get also some following weeks after that as well. Robin, did you want to touch on your project at all?
Yeah, I have found a resolution from the city of Edmonds, Washington, which is a city just north of Seattle that is, smaller than Albany, with regard to supporting reproductive rights. And I just wanted to run this by there. It's a simple thing, and I would rewrite it, for us to present to council, and obviously we would have to agree and vote on it. But it's really just 4 sections where we ask the city to support the state and all national efforts in codifying an individual's right to accessible reproductive health care, including abortion. The second part of that is that it directs the copy of that resolution be sent to the governor and our state representatives. And the third part of that is it pledges that Albany could be a supportive community from people coming to other states who are coming into the area for safe reproductive services, and this is, I think, important as well, because these things go along with reproductive services, gender affirming healthcare. So that's supporting people in that side of it as well. And then asking the council to ask the city council to refrain from providing any cooperation or assistance to any out-of-state law enforcement agency or whatever that would seek to penalize anyone for seeking those types of care. And I think, but I just to tack on the gender affirming thing, which is an important thing for me personally, you are going to see states trying to criminalize gender affirming care provided by the likes of Planned Parenthood and others. So that's it. If for a simple 4-part resolution, I can draft up a suggestion. I guess, Gina, could you mail it out to the rest of the folk?
Yeah, I was just going to ask if you could forward that to me at my email so I can put it in with the minutes. Since you mentioned it and read it, it should be a part of the record. So
Will
yeah,
do.
if you sent it to me, I can send it on to the group. So it's my email is Gina, Gina .Burrese, BURRESE @cityofalbany.net.
Got it. Thank you.
Yes.
So any comments or questions on what I just covered there or suggested?
I think it's fabulous. So Matt put in the guidelines for the content and format for bringing a proclamation to the city of Albany. So we can get that formatted. You and I, if you want, you and I can get together, give the speaker next, and we can get something formatted for this and submit it over to the rest of the group to look at as well.
It'd be awesome. Yes.
Yeah, I just did that so that you'd have a kind of a head start on kind of the pattern of other proclamations. So hopefully that's helpful.
Great.
So I'll send you, I'll shoot you a text, Robin. We can find a time, come over for some coffee and proclamation drafting.
Sounds good.
And then we can submit that over to everyone else by sending to Gina, so we can distribute. So I think that would be awesome. Miriam, did you have anything to bring?
I do not at the moment. I still need to get together with Robin and Jamie to talk about the food. I've just been really busy this summer. I started a new job yesterday, so I'm like all kinds busy, but I will make time.
I will email you both right now and we will talk about setting up a time.
Yes, there we go. Thank you, Jamie.
Fabulous. Greg, did you have anything to bring?
I don't have a current project, but would love to partner with anyone who needs some help for sure. But I don't currently have a project, but anyone that needs any help, I'd love to help out. So,
Well, then if you're free the first Saturday of September, it's always great to have a third person help man a booth.
I would love that. What day was that?
It's the first Saturday in September.
Okay.
I want to say it's the
Third.
Yeah, it's the
Oh.
third.
the third. There we go.
September 3rd. Okay.
Yeah, and it would be
Thursday.
awesome if you could be there, Greg, because I have a hard stop that I need to get to, another activity that day that I need to get to at 11.
Okay. So what time would work for you?
We usually start setting up around like 8:30,
Okay.
and then we're there till the farmer's market closes.
Okay. I would love to help out.
Fabulous. So
And then I
I'm
can-
also putting it on my calendar.
we have to make sure we don't have quorum. So we can't have more than 3 people there at a time. So I will, so if you want to come after 11 o'clock, Jamie.
Okay.
Taking like 11 to 1, that'd be awesome. And then Jamie, did you have any projects at all in the works? Not one that you're spearheading, but all the ones that you're participating on. Okay. Awesome. Cool. All righty. All right. So the next item is just our event debrief and potential event involvement. And does anyone have anything they'd like to bring? There's 2 things, but I wanted to pull it up real quick. So I saw that there's a bias response focus group that's meeting. And so the city of Albany posted about this as well.
It was today, Steph.
there's still some in like Philomath and other areas as well, if like you're interested in listening, not like participating. But yeah, I was hoping to be able to get there, but it did not happen, did not work in the cards. I just thought was interesting. And then if anyone else has, I need to find my other event. So if anyone else has something they wanted to both suggest for future upcoming events or workshops, I need to find the other one moment.
Oh, did anyone get accepted to the Welcoming America Learning Lab?
I've been getting their emails and stuff for quite a while.
Yeah, I'm getting their emails. I don't think I've seen like a acceptance thing.
Because I got one that said I was not accepted this round.
Okay. I'll go through my email and see.
Yeah, I just got the updates for all of the welcoming week content they have.
So I need to find it and I'll forward it over, but it was something that sent over to the folks that also attend the Beit Am Synagogue, but it was on recognizing and reporting bias incidents. Like it was like a workshop on like how to go through this, go through the whole process, like a training. So I'll find that information. It's in my email. I read it today, and now that I'm looking for it, it's disappeared. So I'll forward it over to Gina as well, but it's open to anyone and it's free. And it's online. So I'll find it, I'll forward it over. So our next item highlights the meeting. I think that we can highlight that we had Kimmy here, and then we also had Superintendent Andy join us as well. And also mention like progress on new projects moving forward. Anything that anyone else would like to add for the annual report presentation? Okay, so for context, Kimia, this why we call out things is because whenever I create an annual report, it's just easy if we like make a note like in our meeting minutes what we wanted to highlight instead of me reading all of our minutes again at the end of the year to create an annual report and pull something out. So we just started just to mention like, hey, what would we like to highlight? I know it sounds probably kind of weird, but it makes things faster and easier whenever creating a annual report. All right, so our next item is business from the members. Keith, would you like to go first?
Sure. The only thing I have was wanting to get together with you on what our topic will be. So
I have several to choose from, so I'll send them over to you.
yes. Well, I was hoping we could do some stuff around the welcoming week since it's the
First week of school. Yeah. Greg, do you have any updates to share?
Not currently, no. I guess to follow up on this September 3rd, what time do you want me there? Or what time would work out?
It'd be great if you could be there at like 8:30 to help me set up a pop-up tent.
Sure, I can do that. Okay, I will be there.
Okay, cool. And Robin, did you have any business from the members to share?
I don't know. Nothing additional.
Miriam, how about you?
I do not at the moment.
All right, Jamie. All right. No business from myself as well. All right, so Matt, any staff updates?
I don't have any unless there was homework that I forgot I had to do, but I don't think there was anything on my list.
I was just going to mention that I emailed the gal from the library to let them know that you guys do plan on meeting with them in October. And I told her that Stephanie, you would get together to coordinate the actual time.
Is
Okay.
that Millie?
Millie, yes,
Yeah,
Millie.
okay. Yeah.
The Hispanic Advisory Commission. Yeah, I'll make a note to reach out to her. Okay, excellent. Okay, excellent. All right. So our next meeting is Tuesday, September 27th. If we don't have anything else, I'm going to call us adjourned.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay, thank you.
You have a good night.
All right. Good night.
Yeah. Night.